Typhoon Halong moving just towards the south of Japan today. Did peak around about a Cat 4 status on the Saffir-Simpson scale. Really just had that kind of buzzsaw shape. But here in the latest satellite imagery, you can see the left side of the storm, the western side, starting to flatten out a little bit. That's because shear is beginning to interact with it due to a trough dipping in from the north, which is also causing it to turn north and then eventually northeast. By the way, I'm meteorologist Robert Spett. This is WestPac Weather. Always do my best to be transparent and kind of give you the latest information, no hype, on what's happening out here in the tropical Western Pacific. So, of course, we have Halong, and also want to talk about the changing of the seasons and how it's impacting the weather forecast in the Philippines here in this update. And first, Halong now, it's still a pretty potent storm system. Winds about 185 kilometers per hour. It does have a forecast to weaken as it moves north and eventually towards the east. But the Izu Islands, that's these islands out here just south of Tokyo, part of Tokyo Prefecture, actually, home to about 28,000 people. Some of those southern islands are definitely going to feel direct impacts from this typhoon there. Places further towards the north, like Oshima, not so much. In fact, you'll be on the left side of the storm, the weaker side. And the same thing for coastal areas like the Izu Peninsula over towards Kanagawa Prefecture and Chiba Prefecture. Along the coast, tropical storm strength winds are possible. But I think the bigger issue for coast is going to be the waves that do set up. Definitely some large swells coming in off of this. And I'll show that in just a second. But as far as Tokyo and the Kanto Plain is concerned, outside of a few passing showers, you're not going to feel the impacts from this, if at all. And you're also going to be looking at some very dry air spilling on the western side of us, which is common for October storms in Japan. In fact, stuff like this, if this ran further towards the north and it did grab that really cool Siberian air, we might be even talking about snow in some of the higher elevations of Hokkaido. Not going to see that this time around, but definitely setting up for some fresh northerly winds, which sets up the changing of the seasons, as I mentioned, for our friends in the Philippines. But we take a look at a rainfall accumulation there, the Izu Islands offshore of Tokyo, looking at the heaviest of the rainfall, and just only some passing showers places like Chiba, over towards the Izu Peninsula and the Kanagawa Peninsula here too. And then we have a secondary storm that could form up behind this, by the way, and do a very similar track. Here's the waves, so whoo! 3 to 6, some spots offshore, 6+ meters. And then as it pulls away, I think this would be a better surfing day Friday, because you'll get kind of those backside winds coming onshore, or at least from the north, with some large, longer period swells. Let's pull back the picture, though. And yeah, of course, we have our other area down here. It's being dubbed a tropical depression at this time. Starting to get its act together just towards the west of Guam. And I know if you're in the Philippines, you're going, hold the phone, what? I'm not worried about it. In fact, most guidance does continue to show this kind of pulling towards the north. In fact, here's a look at the GFS with our first storm clipping Honshu and kicking off towards the east. And here's this next one, just kind of this blobbish heading out towards the southern Japanese islands. Might even get a little bit close to Honshu, but very similar setup with it getting picked up by a trough and kicking towards the north and east. And you all know I recently love, not always, this model's only been around for a little bit, the Google DeepMind. And this kind of shows you what we're talking about with this making that hard right turn. All the ensembles agree on that. But then you can see the next area right behind this. Look at that. Kind of spreading apart with the ensembles, but most of them have this stalling off and turning north and east. So if you're in Okinawa and you've been watching this, I wouldn't be too concerned, just based on the dynamics we're seeing out there today and the overall trend that we're seeing with this previous storm, Halong. And basically it's going to follow a very similar atmospheric dynamic path. Even without the models, I would probably say that, just based on what we're seeing across this area. So yeah, I mean, Halong's a powerful storm. Of course, it's controlling the atmosphere out here. And yeah, look at this, actually going through an eye wall replacement cycle. This is on microwave imagery. We're peering through the upper level clouds. Kind of cool to see here as well. I say that because it's outside of the Izu Islands. Not a lot of people are being directly impacted. So it's one of those storms you can really observe, at least from the distance. Unless you are on the Izu Islands, then sorry, it's going to be messy. All right, so let's pull back our picture. Of course, we have Halong right there We have our next system developing right here. Both of these heading off just like that, all right? Now watch the Siberian high, and what we're seeing is a bit of the northeast monsoonal flow setup, which is really kind of going to be kicking in with the start of the Amihan here for the Philippines. Now, what does this mean? Well, you're going to start to see more of these northerly winds. We're also watching the tropics further towards the south, and any storm that would impact the Philippines would probably have to form out in this direction and kind of be a west runner versus the stuff further towards the north. In fact, if we see stuff starting to form up north of the northeast of the Philippines, it's going to end up a lot like Halong with that trend towards the north, kind of closer to Japan. So it's just a different setup of the dynamics. This is from Habagat, though, the termination of the Habagat season have started, but it doesn't mean that the Amihan is on yet. We're in that transition season out here. So yeah. Anyways, hey, if you're watching this now, you're probably at 2 o'clock Philippine time. I'm going to be on a kind of a masterclass talk with a panelist with a couple other people from the Philippines. The head of Pagasa, the chief meteorological officer, is going to be there. It's going to be an interesting talk. It's at the University of the Philippines, but you can register. Check out my Facebook page because I got a link so you can register if you want to watch via Zoom. I'm obviously joining via Zoom, so you guys can check that out. I have to wake up at 2 a.m. my time to be on it, but I'm looking forward to it. Anyways, big thanks to our Patreon members, and big thank you for watching all this video and just me rambling on about this storm system. I think the key thing, it misses Japan, but it sets up Mrs. Mainland Japan. But it sets up kind of the start of the northeast monsoon. Yeah, that's what you can take away from this whole long video. Anyways, thanks for watching, friends, and as always, stay safe out there, okay?